Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a premium Pro controller option, and that's the Fusion Pro wireless controller for Nintendo Switch from PowerA. And real quick, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything happening with the channel. And with all that out of the way, let's take a look. So I've done some videos on PowerA controllers in the past, and if you're not familiar with them, they're one of the few officially licensed third-party controller manufacturers for Nintendo, and typically their controllers come in at a bit of a discount by omitting certain features like NFC support for Amiibo and Rumble functionality, but because they're officially licensed, they can include cool custom artwork with Nintendo characters, and then usually they also include a couple added features like turbo or extra programmable back triggers. But with the Fusion Pro Wireless, PowerA is actually taking a little bit of a different approach, offering a premium product that is actually more expensive than Nintendo's official Pro controller. And while this is definitely a very premium feeling controller, there are some issues here that leave me feeling a bit conflicted about whether or not it's worth its price point. So I'm just going to talk about the overall feel of the controller, the added features, and then also some of the things that are really unfortunate, especially considering the price of this controller, and hopefully that can help you decide whether or not this will be worth picking up. And as you can see here, the Fusion Pro Wireless comes in a massive box. I can't even get it fully in frame here. And that's because it comes with a pretty nice case that fits the controller. So all that's inside here, and let's flip it over and look at some of the details on the back here. As you can see here, there are two swappable faceplates included. There are also swappable analog sticks with different heights and different caps on the top, so you can change those out based on your personal preference. You also have the case, like I mentioned before. You do have the option of using this controller either wirelessly or wired, and there's an included 12-foot USB cable, and it's a really nice quality one, so that's really cool. And there is actually a headphone jack included on this controller, but keep in mind that will only work in the wired mode. And then there's also this removable Mappable Pro Pack with 4 extra programmable back triggers, so you can remap some buttons to the back side of the controller. And I think that about covers it, so let's get the box out of the way here and then take a look at the actual controller itself. So here is the Fusion Pro Wireless, and at the moment I've got the black faceplate on, obviously. Take a look at the back here with the programmable paddles. And then something I forgot to mention from the back of the box, you also have these injected rubber grips on the back. They have a really nice feel, nice grippy, soft rubber. So that is a bit of an improvement over the stock Pro controller. So talking about the overall feel here, it does feel really, really nice. I mean, this is a significant upgrade from the feeling of PowerA's standard Pro controller line that usually come in at around $50. The buttons feel really, really great. They have maybe just slightly more resistance than the stock Pro controller. A really nice clickiness to them with just the right amount of squish. And the analog sticks feel really, really nice. These are ALPS sticks, which I don't know a ton about, but I guess they're somewhat revered for just their tactile responsiveness. And something that I kind of rolled my eyes at a little bit initially that's, featured on the back of the box is these anti-friction rings around the analog sticks. But I have to tell you, I can actually feel the difference. When you're rotating the sticks around here, there is an extremely satisfying kind of slick glide. There's no friction, so you're not getting any resistance if you're moving the stick around kind of at full tilt here. The Lnr buttons also feel really outstanding. I don't know how to explain it other than premium feeling, a really nice click. There's no like rattling around with these being loose or anything like that. And the ZL and ZR also have a really nice satisfying click. I can't say I'm a huge fan of the shape of the triggers that PowerA goes with for the ZL and ZR buttons. They kind of have this almost like pointy cat ears shape. And I don't know, you end up kind of feeling that pointed edge there. It's not anything uncomfortable, but I think I do prefer the feel of the standard Switch Pro controller triggers over this design. And then the D-pad really feels great, definitely better than the stock Switch Pro controller. In my recent review of the 8-Bit Pro 2 controller, I said that the D-pad on there was probably my favorite of any third third-party controller, and I think the Fusion Pro Wireless might even nudge that out for top spot. It just feels great. It feels super accurate, perfect amount of resistance. Can even roll it and feel each direction kind of kick in. Just a really nice D-pad. And then for the programmable triggers on the back, they feel pretty good. I maybe prefer the feel of not having these on there at all to just get a more flush grip on the controller itself. But if you're someone who does like adding some mappable options to the back, these feel really premium again as well. You can also remove them very easily if you only want to deal with, maybe having two along the bottom or just two along the top. These are magnetic and slide in and out super easily without feeling like they're gonna fall off when you don't want them to. I do maybe wish they had a little bit more resistance to them, because if you were to balance the controller in your hand while just balancing it on the triggers themselves, just the weight of the controller presses those in. So I could see it being something where maybe you're accidentally pressing these in moments of high intensity or something like that. But for the most part, they've worked really well for me. And the plus and minus buttons and the capture and home buttons feel great as well. Something that sometimes third-party Pro controllers lack is the ability to wake up the switch from sleep mode when you press the home button, but you don't have to worry about that here. Pressing the home button works exactly as it does on the stock Pro controller. And I actually prefer the look of the white faceplate with the red anti-friction rings around the analog sticks, and I kind of thought that would be the faceplate I'd be going with. But what I didn't realize was the white faceplate has kind of the standard glossy plastic that you'd find on PowerA's other controllers, but this black one has a soft touch kind of rubberized coating that just feels really, really great, and I think really drives home the premium feel of the controller. So that's the faceplate I've been going with the entire time while using this, and I guess this makes a good time to maybe take a look at those and show you how easy it is to swap the faceplates out. So I'll put this to the side here for a second. And here's the case that the Fusion Pro Wireless comes in. Get this opened up. And here's some of the stuff you'll find packed inside. So here are the alternate thumbsticks. These are higher than the standard ones that come on there that feel about the same height as the Switch Pro controller. I do think it's a little odd that they've included just one with the regular concave top and then just one with this convex top. So I haven't really been using either of these. I did try swapping them on, and I just prefer the standard height. I don't really like the feeling of the taller thumbsticks, but it is nice that these are an included option. Here's the braided 12-foot USB cable for wired mode. And then this little clip here is just a cap you can place over the slot where the Mappable Pro Pack goes if you want to remove that. So I like that that's included there as well, so you don't just have kind of a hole in the back if you're not using it. And then up in the top section here, we have the alternate faceplate. So to swap out the faceplates, it's super easy. There's this little notch here, and it's magnetic, so you simply pop it off. It comes off really easily, but feels secure when it's on there. And this is also how you'd swap out the thumbsticks if you were changing those out. You have to take the faceplate off first, obviously, and then you can just simply pop these off, like so. And I'll pop the white one on here. And as you can see, it goes on super easily, snaps right in place. And again, I really like the look of this, but I just prefer the feeling of the black one, since this just, I guess, feels a little cheaper. And one super minor nitpick I noticed is that since this is the gloss plastic instead of the slightly rubberized black one, the anti-friction rings here that are actually a separate piece of plastic are just a little bit louder when you hit that outside edge. They're just a little bit clickier. Definitely not a big deal, but it is something I noticed. And then one thing I guess I forgot to mention, some PowerA controllers feature battery operation and they aren't rechargeable, but of course the Fusion Pro Wireless is rechargeable. It has a 900 milliamp battery that PowerA states will get you around 20 hours of playtime on a single charge. And that 900 milliamp battery is a little bit smaller than the standard Switch Pro controller, which comes in at 1300 milliamps. And then on the back here, a couple other things I didn't mention yet is here's your switch for wireless or USB mode. So you have to change this into USB mode when you're using the cable if you want that headphone jack support. Would have been amazing if PowerA had figured out how to do that wirelessly, but Even the standard Switch Pro controller doesn't do that, so that's understandable. And then the other button on the back here is for the mappable triggers, and it's super easy to use. You just press and hold this for 3 seconds, and then this LED indicator will light up. Then you press the button you'd like to assign, and then you press the corresponding trigger, and it's as easy as that. And I'm not someone who uses the mappable triggers all that much. I'm often pretty satisfied with like the standard control layout, but I did mess around with using them with Monster Hunter Rise, and I actually found it to be really useful in combat, mapping the X and A buttons to the right paddles here. And that way I don't have to move my hands off the buttons here when I'm kind of reorienting the camera when I'm battling a monster. And another nice feature I noticed is the mapping options seem to stay mapped. There must be some little battery or memory within the Pro Pack here, even after powering the Switch off and disconnecting the controller, and even after removing the Pro Pack itself. And I guess I can show you what it looks like with the clip covering that. You lock it into place like that. It is a really, really comfortable controller. The grips here have like a little bit more of a pronounced ridge than the standard Pro controller, but it feels really good, feels really solid. But now I guess I can talk about some of the not so great stuff, and really that kind of comes down to one thing, and that is the price. And as I'm sure you already saw in the thumbnail, the Fusion Pro Wireless goes for $99.99, and that's about $30 more than the standard Switch Pro controller. And while you certainly are getting some extras in this package, and just the overall higher build quality, you're missing out on NFC support for Amiibo, which I think I could let that one slide just because I don't use Amiibo all that often with the Switch at all. But the big one for me, and you probably already saw this coming, is the lack of rumble. And you know, some people really don't care that much about rumble. I definitely do. I definitely feel like something is missing when it's not there. And with this controller being $30 more than the standard Switch Pro controller, I don't know, that's just kind of a deal breaker for me. If this controller did have rumble, I can pretty confidently say that I would use this over the standard Switch Pro controller. This would kind of be my go-to, but without it, I just have a really hard time justifying that price. And before you go bagging on PowerA for that decision, I actually don't think it was up to them. I think this is actually an issue with Nintendo themselves and their officially licensed controller manufacturers. And I couldn't find any official statement on this, so I am just guessing a little bit, but there aren't any officially licensed third-party Nintendo Switch controllers that do feature NFC support or rumble. And I imagine that's one of those kind of classic Nintendo decisions where, you know, I guess it makes sense with a cheaper Pro controller option with some of PowerA's other controllers that go for $49.99. I can kind of see the logic there where Nintendo's going, hey, you're creating this controller that undercuts our price by quite a bit, and you have all the same features, so that kind of opens up some competition there. Like, why would anyone buy our Pro controller? And, you know, if that is the case, I think that's really crazy when PowerA is clearly offering a premium option here for someone who's willing to spend that extra bit of money for a premium controller with better feeling buttons, premium thumbsticks, a really nice D-pad, the mappable triggers. I just really wish rumble was included here. I'm confident that this is a Nintendo issue because PowerA does make a Fusion Pro wireless controller for the PlayStation 4, and that one includes rumble. So yeah, I think that's really unfortunate. Again, I think this controller feels amazing. It feels really premium. I like the mappable trigger option. I really like the feel of the thumbsticks and all the buttons. I especially love the feel of the soft rubberized black faceplate and the rubberized grips on the back, but for $30 more than the standard Pro controller and to not have rumble, that just leaves me feeling kind of conflicted on recommending this controller to anyone. If you are someone who really doesn't care about rumble, and you really like having the mappable triggers on the back, and you're willing to spend a bit extra for a more premium feeling controller, then yeah, you're gonna be really happy with this. For everyone else, you're probably just better off going with a regular Switch Pro controller or going with something like the 8-Bit Do Pro 2 that's $49.99, comes with software that lets you remap pretty much all of the buttons, has rumble included, has programmable back triggers, and can be used with other devices. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. I'll leave a link to the Fusion Pro Wireless down in the description if you'd like to check it out for yourself. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is this a controller you could see yourself using, or is the lack of rumble a deal breaker for you, kind of how it is for me? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like on your way out and also consider subscribing. And until the next video, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.